Hey guys, how's it going? Time for our weekly recap video. We are inside in the plant room today because there's a ton of activity going on all around us. There's construction going on behind our vegetable garden on a house. We have some big machinery working on some stuff up front in our new property. We're getting ready for the trees that are going to line our lane. We decided to do that this fall, and they should be here in the next few weeks, we hope, and then we're going to seed a little bit of grass, and then there's some hedges being trimmed by some loud equipment kind of behind our house. So there's just like an enormous amount of activity, and it's very smoky out, so we're trying to limit time outside and be in here a little bit more. So anyway, the first thing I wanted to announce were the Gardener's Supply gift certificate winners. This past week we had a video where we just unboxed a bunch of stuff that Gardener's Supply had sent out, and it was fun. It was fun to do that, and they sent out 2 $150 gift cards, and then we did the giveaway just on YouTube. I do have to say there were I gave the instructions for the giveaway that we were only picking winners from YouTube because of the whole like fake accounts that were trying to imitate us on Facebook from the last giveaway. And there's actually a new account, right, that just cropped up, but it has my personal name, and then Garden Answer, and it's trying to friend a bunch of people. Anyway, Facebook is not being very swift in handling any of this, which is very frustrating. But anyway, a bunch of you guys still commented on Facebook. So if you receive any message from somebody that seems like us through Facebook, it's not us. So anyway, that's why we decided to pick winners from YouTube, because it's the only platform where we're verified. So anyway, the winners are Aaron Weyer, and Victoria Hernandez. Congratulations to the both of you. I sent you a message this morning. So anyway, very fun. And moving on to the first video was planting my first containers for fall. In that video, I planted up the 2 containers flanking our balcony patio door, and I used a Japanese maple, crotons, carex, alternanthera called plum dandy, and some violas, pansies, and a fern. A lot of different things. Robin said, "Hi Laura, I have 2 purple fountain grasses in pots on my front porch. Any advice on keeping them upright? They've gotten so large that they are leaning, which is taking away the beauty of them." It happens almost every single year to me. It gets to this point of the year and they just kind of start almost flopping over in sections, which are really easy just to kind of reach in and pop that section out. But we also get a tremendous amount of wind, which doesn't help because they're like so top heavy and they already want to fall over. So what I tend to do, and I think I put it in a vlog at one point, but I put a stake behind the grass and kind of wrap a piece of natural jute twine around the grass and kind of just tie it up a little bit. And usually there's so much fluff around the grass you don't really see the string, but it helps keep your grass nicer for longer. Rebecca said, "Who else is bummed that the lights on the Japanese maple didn't work out?" Yeah, I put them on there, and I just don't know if I spent enough time doing it artfully, but it kind of just looked like a blob of lights. You could see them for sure. I still have them on one of the Japanese maples, and I plug them in for Benjamin because he thinks it's pretty neat. But overall, it didn't really have a very good look. Kawai said, "Totally unrelated, but I remember you saying something a while ago that you would get more chickens, or did I just daydream that?" Nope, you didn't daydream that. I did get 3 new chickens, and they have fit in beautifully, and I'm getting eggs every single day, one of which wants to lay on them, so I'm trying to break the broodiness habit from her. Whole new thing. I've never had a chicken do that. L. Rob said, "How do you fertilize these containers? Wondering if the Japanese maple can handle the fertilizer for the annuals, perennials." The answer to that is I really don't fertilize fall containers very much, if at all. Usually I'm using fresh soil, which is full of nutrients already, and these plants, they're not going to be putting a lot of growth on. They're going to be put in there while they're still kind of active, and then they're starting to power down, just like me, like powering down for winter. It's getting quite cold. We got down to 39 degrees last week for 2 nights. And things just stop putting on growth, and they don't need the nutrients. So everything should be pretty compatible that way. I've asked this on several videos and it's never been answered in a recap, so here I go again. What happened to your honeybees and your leafcutter bees? Are you still doing either of those? The leafcutter bees are still around. You know that little house I put right behind our chicken coop? I installed it right there on the back of the coop. I removed it when the elm tree was being removed because I was afraid it was going to get knocked off or whatever, and I didn't want to like jostle their home too much. So I gently removed it and I went and placed it in the barn. There was really no activity going on that I could see, and I forgot about it. This spring when it started to warm up, there were a bunch of bees just like cruising around in the barn and like coming and going, and we were trying to figure out where in the heck they were coming from and what they were doing. And they were all cruising to that little house on top of a shelf. And that's just where their home was, so that's where they came and went from. So they are still here. The honeybees, I've had honeybees twice, once at our old house and once here, and they have absconded both times, which in the bee world means the whole colony, queen and all, they leave. Like there was no death, there was no mites, there wasn't any issue that I could see inside that coop. I thought the very first time they absconded, it was maybe because they didn't like how shrouded I had their hive. I had that box kind of behind some shrubs up against a fence, and I thought, well, maybe it was because, you know, I don't know, maybe there wasn't enough openness around it. It was fairly uninterrupted though, like nobody went back there ever, it wasn't messed with. So I don't know why they left, and then we got them again here, and they did the same exact thing. So maybe it's just my box, Erin. Maybe I need to purchase a new box and not paint it. I did paint it, and that could be a reason in the beginning too, but the second time, like that paint was aged. It didn't have any smell or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know enough about honeybees, honestly, to be able to determine why they left. I'm just thankful it wasn't an issue. Like I didn't find dead bees anywhere. So usually if there's like a big problem within the hive that's a insect problem or predator problem, you would find dead bees all over the place. And I never found that. So yeah. I am Sasha Janey said, I know you've probably had those pumpkin containers forever, but where did you get them? I got those at Home Depot like 3 years ago, I think. And they've been really fun. I mean, they only get to be out for like a month and a half, usually at a time. And I think that's why I enjoy them so much, because it's not something I see all the time. Next video was planting fall pots part 2. So in that video, I just took off with some more containers in that same general area. In fact, we had moved 6 containers from our parking area that flanked 3 on either side, flanked the opening where we walked through. We took all 6 of those pots and moved them over to the patio area. And that is a really great way to extend the life out of your containers, like make them look new and fresh, is just to move things around as you can. So I planted up 6 new pots, brought out some fall pillows, and then also trimmed up the boxwoods in the window baskets. Mary said, ready for fall as well, and am inspired. While watching this video and the prior one, I kept fixating on how clean your windows are. They're not clean. What's your secret? They actually haven't been cleaned all year. I do hire somebody to come clean our windows, usually twice a year, spring and fall. It's like a spring cleaning and then a fall cleaning before the holidays. And I do have him coming next month, but I forgot this spring. Like I just totally spaced it, and some of our windows are so incredibly gross. I mean, I washed the kitchen window, like the bottom half of the kitchen door, I should say, where the cats do this thing and Benjamin does this, you know. I wash that occasionally, but oh man, I think those windows maybe appear more clean because they're protected. They're not getting any kind of weather. They don't have water splattered on them because we have drip in the window boxes. So that's probably why, and nobody can reach them. So nobody's touching them. Christine said, where did you get your rug on the front door? That was from Amazon. Isn't that such a pretty rug? I kind of want to order an extra one just so I have one backstock in case they ever discontinue it. But it's the perfect size for that double door, which I'm almost thinking about replacing. So I need your opinion. I'm thinking of doing a black door in there. I'm a little nervous only because I love the look of black doors on white houses. I mean, that's a good look, but it's in the shade, like it's set back so it doesn't get any like really bright light, and I'm worried that it'll look like a hole. I mean, we'd keep a lot of glass. It would just be more like an outline. So I'm not sure. That's why I've held off on replacing that door. But anyway, the mat I love. Amazon. We'll link it if I can find it. Critter Girl said, have you considered putting carvable foam jack-o'-lanterns over your hanging porch lights? Saw P. Allen Smith do that once. It was fun and old-fashioned looking. That's a good idea. I'll look that up. I'll look up Alan's stuff and see how that looked. I've never seen that before, or maybe I have and I just haven't. I don't know. I'm kind of in the mood just to do like very festive stuff this year and not really keep it like sophisticated, but just like kind of like all the color, you know, and I'm in a different mood every year. Cecilia said, are you affected by the fires? I am, and I live in Salem, and I am so sorry, Cecilia, for all of you guys who live near or around or right in the middle of the fire areas right now. Like, my heart goes out to you, honestly, because we're dealing just with the smoke from that, and I'm all the way on the other side of the state. And I think it's like very unhealthy air quality. We got that warning this morning. I can't even imagine what it's like for you guys and the fear that surrounds that and the uncertainty, and dang, I mean, the only thing we're getting is the smoke. That's all we're affected by the fires, which I'm thankful for. It almost makes me feel guilty though when I'm out there like getting little things done in the garden and watering plants. I mean, I still have my plants. I still have everything out there and it's not in danger. Kind of makes me feel guilty when there's so many other people who don't know how, you know, their things are going to fare. So, dang it. Yenny said, where did you get those benches? Those are from Plow and Hearth. Do you remember the name of those? Like the Lutyens bench? Lutyens?
I think so.
I did get, so I got those two from Plow and Hearth, and I have another one that's very similar that I ordered through Amazon, which I think is now available on Gardener's Supply. It's a little bit wider. So I think that they both have their place for sure. Not comfortable. If you're getting a bench for comfort, this is not the bench for you. I mean, it's a place to sit down and rest for a second. It's not a place to lounge. They're more for looks, in all honesty. Midwest Girl said, I always get turned around. Is this your main entrance? No, it's actually funny. Erin and I, we kind of make a game of it. When anybody new comes to our house, we just watch. We sit inside and we're like, I wonder which door they're going to pick. Because we have 3 doors that look like they could be front entrance doors. And so it's funny, you see people like going really slow and kind of like looking around, and sometimes they make 2 circles around the house trying to decide. It can be used as a main door. It comes right into our great room, which seems kind of odd because it's not like an entryway. The formal entrance of our house is on the old side of our house, which we're sitting in right now. It's downstairs, but there's nowhere to park up there. So it's really weird. So people are like, I don't even know where to park. So do I use this entrance? Anyway, it's kind of a weird deal. Next video was the unboxing some fun garden items, and that's the one where we did the Gardener Supply items with the gift cards. Sue said, love the small growing light system, would love to have that. Laura, do you think the drying bag system would work for onions and potatoes, or are they too heavy? Definitely too heavy. This is for lighter weight stuff. In fact, I might do a video this week because I really do need to get some herbs harvested now while it's still fairly decent. Like it hasn't taken, I noticed a little bit of blackness on the basil leaves after those 2 39-degree nights, but it hasn't taken plants yet. So I think I will do that and kind of demonstrate. I think if you got too much weight in there, it's pretty lightweight material. I think it wouldn't hold. Tamika said, would the grow through grid work for dahlias too? No. I think dahlias are too heavy for that grow through grid. I think those are for more like shorter plants that maybe don't have quite as bit of weight. Tatiana said, what are the pink flowers behind you? And I'm guessing you're talking about the pink flowers that were behind me in the end of the video. We did switch locations because we had to film the end of the video again. And those are Bright Lights Pinkosteospermums from Proven Winners, which have done so well for us. First year I've ever planted those in the ground, and they have performed so much better than they ever have for me in any kind of container situation. In fact, before I didn't really love the plant because of its performance for me. Now that I've tried them in the ground, so much better, and I will be using more of them. Houseplant haul was the next video. I went down to the garden center not knowing that they were just unloading a brand new truck of houseplants. And as you know, like houseplants aren't my huge focus, especially not during the growing season. But, you know, when it gets colder out, it's dark by like 7:45, 8 p.m. at night now. And I know it's just gonna get increasingly darker earlier. I always start to crave having more green in the house. So we will probably start doing more houseplant videos. It's kind of how it goes every winter. We start doing more succulents, more houseplants. Anyway, I picked up, I can't remember how many, but several new really fun looking houseplants. Charlotte said, where may I buy those beautiful concrete pots? Those were all from Unique Stone, I think. The ones I transplanted into.
Didn't you use some terracotta?
Well, I used terracotta, but the concrete ones I used were Unique Stone. Paula said, can you please tell me what that beautiful red tree is behind you? That is a Bloodgood Japanese maple that looks half dead right now, if you look close. So the bottom half looks beautiful, top half got all burned. All the branches are still alive and it's pushing new growth at the top, so I think it's gonna be fine. I think it wasn't being watered, to be honest. I think we thought it was on drip, but the drip had fallen out and it was back behind the pot. So I don't know how long that pot was not getting water or attended to at all, but it had been a while. So all the leaves in like the middle section kind of burned up. Still gonna be a good tree, I think. Wendy said, great information, thanks. I do have a question though. Do you recommend repotting your houseplants immediately once you bring them home? Or are there times or specific types of plants that you should keep in a nursery pot for a while? I'm a complete plant rookie, so I'm researching and trying to learn as much as I can. I seem to be coming across 2 different schools of thought when it comes to when you should repot. What are your thoughts or suggestions? You know, I think when it comes to that, there are so many different schools of thought when it comes to gardening, and there's really no hard and fast rules, honestly. Like, for example, coralberry is a shrub that I have in my garden. It is labeled for full to part sun. Typically they do the best in full sun. Mine's doing great. I went to my mother-in-law's house the other day and her coralberry is in almost full shade and it looks gorgeous. And I was like, what in the world? What are you doing to this plant and making it like produce berries so beautifully while it gets no light? And she's like, I don't know. So, you know, there's things that you just can't explain. In some ways it works for some people, in some ways it doesn't. In terms of houseplant repotting, I know, like, I really like Amanda from Plantarina. I think she's got some super great information, and I think she recommends not repotting houseplants, and I totally get it. Because you're already shocking this plant quite a bit. Like, you're taking it from a completely different location, making it ride in a car, and then come to a new location where it's going to have different light, different everything, different air movement around it. And so if you eliminate the amount of things you're doing to it different than it's used to, then it can eliminate some shock. So I think she recommends just putting the plant where you want to keep it for like a couple weeks, I think, before you repot it, just to see how it does, to see if you need to move it at all. For me, I don't want to look at a plastic pot in my house, not even for 2 weeks. So I suppose one could put their plastic pot down inside of a prettier pot and then put it in its location so that you're not actually disrupting the root system. But I tend to just want to like bring my plants from the car to my place outside where I'm repot them, and then take them inside so I don't have to even think about it again. They look pretty. I rarely have anything shocked to where it actually doesn't do well or it doesn't thrive. I mean, rare that something will actually just like up and die because it got shocked from a repot. So I don't know. I think that you could try either way. I don't know that I could tell you that one way is better than the other. I think they're both good ways. Natural by Necessity said, great choices, Laura. I noticed that you don't wear gloves. How do you get the dirt stains off your nails? I've never been able to keep mine clean enough to handle food, so I always wear gloves. I enjoy the feeling of the soil and plants with my hands, which I do as well. I don't typically wear gloves because I like to feel stuff. I like the dexterity. With gloves, I have a hard time. I wore gloves like yesterday. I was adding in a bunch of amendments into our vegetable garden beds, and I did wear gloves when I was doing that part, but then I peeled them right off when I was putting my garlic down in the raised beds because I like to feel them. I don't feel like I'm fumbly. With gloves, I just feel like, bleh, I don't know. And I never get them clean, like very clean. And I don't really think about it in terms of food prep. Like I wash my hands, but it's not like I get a brush out and brush out my nails. I don't know, maybe that's why I have such a good immune system. I hardly ever get sick. Don't worry about my nails so much. All the fall colors in one container was the next video. So I was going through the greenhouse the night prior to doing this project, and I just saw so many beautiful, just all the fall colors going on, and I thought, oh, I could put something together that's really pretty and just really just looks like fall. And I used a container that I picked up, like, well, how many years ago was that? 5 years ago or yeah, something like that. And I don't know that I've used it since then. I keep stuff around forever. That's why it's so good that we have a barn the size we do, because we've got lots of shelving units where we can really keep everything nice. And then it's nice to just pull something out every once in a while and it feels like a brand new pot. Anyway, Christy said, most of us don't have a gardening budget of a YouTube gardening channel, but that never bothered me. Gardening can be just as fun with a tiny budget, if not more rewarding. When Laura does a container arrangement that I really want to copy, I take notes of which plants I'm able to start from seed, which I might be able to take cuttings from what's already in my garden, and which one I can substitute. It sure takes longer than rushing to the store for the full-grown plants, but the process was every bit as enjoyable. Alyssum and ornamental cabbage are very easy to start from seed, and if you save your own seeds, they are essentially everlasting. Start from seed, plant swap with a neighbor, forage seeds where it's allowed, and the possibilities are endless. That makes me so happy to hear, Christy, because that is the goal, right? Like, we don't ever mean for any of our projects to be something that you feel like any of you feel like you need to copy, because this is what we do for a living. We do projects every single day. And so, like, if you take even one thing, like one plant out of that pot that you thought, you know what, I think I kind of want to incorporate that next year into my fall containers. That was really pretty. Like, maybe you liked the rose or you liked the rudbeckia or whatever, and so you can make a note of that. And that's the goal, is just to kind of spark something in hopefully all of you guys who are watching. And maybe even it's just picking up a tip on like how I fill up containers with soil, or, you know, how many plants I put in fall containers and how I can get away with that, or, you know, that sort of thing. I don't know, it just makes me encouraged to hear that, because that is what it's about.
I would wager the majority of people get that.
I think so. I do see the occasional comment like, it must be nice to have, you know, endless plants, and, you know, and I'm kind of like, bums me out a little bit. Because I'm like, well, that's not the point.
But I think that's the minority.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And I think that's kind of a mindset.
Yeah.
But I really love to see this, like somebody just like say it out. Because that's a happy mindset. And I like that. Tara said, Laura, I have 2 questions. Do you decorate your fireplace mantle for Halloween and Christmas? We decorate it for Christmas sometimes, I have to admit. So I had like walnut cones and a couple of white poinsettias on the mantle with some other stuff. I can't even remember what the other stuff was. And then I did a big magnolia garland. The magnolia garland, of course, came down because it dried out. But the walnut cones are still there. I took the poinsettias out of the pots, and I don't even have a plant in them since last Christmas. So anyway, it's not bad. It's just kind of bare. I don't decorate it for Halloween, though. I don't typically do a ton of Halloween decorating. If I do any, it's usually relegated to a patio or a porch. How do you teach Benjamin about Halloween? I don't really teach him about Halloween. He's just now old enough. Like, we did costumes for the first 2 years. It was so cute. He was a hedgehog for his first Halloween, and then last year he was a garden gnome. And this year I've got a couple ideas, but I'm not sure. And I'll probably just do with him how I was raised. We got dressed up and we went to friends and family's homes to trick or treat. And it was never like a huge deal, but it was always like fun, and it was always not scary. I don't like the scary side of Halloween at all. I think that like the gross, scary stuff, and we were never allowed to wear anything that was gross, scary, or gory, or like evil looking, which I think is good. It makes me sad to see those costumes, especially when they're available for such small kids. Like, ugh, I want to keep them happy and innocent as long as possible. Faith said, what happens if there are air pockets in the soil beside the root ball? It can just cause them to dry out. Like, you can be watering the planter, and the water, it does weird stuff if there's air pockets. Sometimes the water won't penetrate into that air pocket, and so you'll think, like, I'm watering this container every day, and this plant is still dried up. Well, if you have an air pocket in there, that could be what's going on. It can also make the soil settle weird and the plant settle weird so that they don't like stay exactly how you had them arranged in the pot. Erica said, could you do a video where you go to the garden store and create containers on video? I love your creations, but when I get to the store, sometimes I'm overwhelmed. It would be nice to see your thought process from the beginning. I get what you're saying. So like I could even do it there at the garden center. That'd be kind of a fun video, Erin. Yeah. Just like head there and just based on what they have there, pots and all, that'd be kind of fun. T-Del 1000 said, Laura, you mentioned that you would not use the bark nuggets in the bottom of the stock tank again.
Bark nuggets.
What?
Just the name sounds
bark. Are there any other pros and cons of things you would do differently next time? In those containers, no. I would just not use the bark nuggets. I would use soil all the way to the bottom. And it was mainly a water issue. The plants are doing okay, but everything settled so much. And we packed that soil in. Like, because I knew that it was going to settle with some water, and that's why we really packed it in there as hard as we could. But it just there is a huge gap between the top of the tank and the top of the soil, and then the water just shot right out of that drain hole. I don't think I would have needed to add more drain holes. Maybe if you had more soil that would have reacted differently, but I've never had a problem with any water staying in there. In fact, it was more of a problem of the water shooting right out. And the last video was planting garlic. So yesterday morning I ran outside, had a little window of opportunity, and I thought I gotta get this garlic in the ground because we have a lot of bulbs coming. Like how many bulbs? Like way more than normal. Last year we planted 3,000. This year it's like 9,000. A lot. A lot of bulbs. Anyway, so I wanted to make sure, I'm trying to stay organized. I'm also trying to get things done a little earlier because the more pregnant I get, the bigger I'm going to get and the harder it's going to be to do some of these things. So anyway, Terry said, oh, and in that video I also reseeded lettuce, thinned out my radishes, and gave you an update on our root cellar installation in our barn. Terry said, do you need garlic bulbs for planting, or can you use the kind you buy to eat from the produce section at the grocery store? It depends. It's not, you really do want to make sure that you get certified seed garlic. I mean, that's the one way you know for sure you're going to get garlic that will grow for you. Sometimes the garlic at a grocery store is treated with a growth regulator. I think that's what it is, or a sprout inhibitor or something, where it will sprout and then the top will turn brown and start to curl and it'll never form up a nice head. And they've just been treated with that. I don't know if it's so that you can't perpetuate the crop or if it makes it like a longer shelf life. I don't know enough about that, but I think if you get organic garlic, you're probably less likely to have it sprayed with something like that. But you can usually get a certified seed garlic from your local garden center. Bridget said, would it be possible to plant garlic in a container? I have a smaller garden, but would still love to try growing my own. Absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing that you need to make sure is if you live in a winter area that has winters that are really cold, you want to move that container or have it somewhere where it's semi-protected. You know, up against the south side of your house, put some soil bags around it for extra insulation. You know, you still want to make sure it has a little bit of water through the winter too. But absolutely, I've grown them in a container before and it works great. Christine said, can I use bulb tone when I plant my garlic? I don't see why not. If that's what you've got, that's what I'd use. Kathy B said, what temperature would you put the AC unit on for the cellar? Now, I'm not sure yet. What I'm going to do is, once I have all my stuff, I know I'll have winter squash and pumpkins, potatoes and onions and garlic. I know I'll have those for sure. Sweet potatoes, I'll have those. I don't know what else I'll have to store in there, but I'm going to look up like ideal storing temperature for all of those different crops, and then I'll come to a compromise. I'll try to find something, a happy medium for all of them. I think typically that falls between a like 40 to 55 degree temperature range. So that's where we'll keep it throughout the winter. And then hopefully during the hot summer months, we actually won't have to be running the AC very much. I mean, we'll try to keep it nice because I'm sure I'll still have some canned stuff in there. But I won't be needing to keep it super cold because I'm sure we'll have worked our way through eating all that stuff through the winter and spring. Kathy said, how will you control the humidity in your root storage room? So we have really low humidity here, but we will have a vent installed. That's all my parents had added into theirs, and theirs is so great. So it'll be a vent. I don't know which kind it's going to be. I'll let you guys know when we get it all installed. But basically what we will have, we're looking into getting a unit that's both AC and heat. I don't know if we can find one that's going to be both of those, AC and heat, that will be compatible with our CoolBot, which is the thing that we can control the temperature from our phone. I might have to do an AC unit that's controlled by CoolBot, and then a separate heating unit, a small one. And then we will have the vent. So there will be 2 holes in the back for the AC unit and the vent. And then the heater, if I have to do that separate, won't have to have a vent out the back. And then we will have a light bulb, like we can run a heat lamp in there if we decide we don't need a heater. So we'll have several different options available to us. It's going to be kind of a just trial and error sort of thing. And then we will let you know. Chris said, how are the Felco gloves working out? They're working out so great. I noticed you wearing them in the last few videos. They're really comfortable. The fingers fit all my fingers. Usually my problem is, and I've used Atlas nitrile gloves forever, and those are still really good gloves. The Felcos fit my thumb perfectly. It's always the thumb that I have extra material at the end, and it just drives me nuts. And they fit me perfect. So I only have the one pair, so I'm pretty, like, I know where that pair is at pretty much at all times. I need to get a backup pair though, just in case. And that's it, you guys. That's it for this week's recap video. I hope it was helpful. I hope to have some fun videos to show you guys later this week. It is just so smoky out there. I don't know what this week's gonna be like, but I hope that you all are doing well. Hope you're having a great start to your week, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.